Welcome to Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff, where we interview newsmakers, storytellers, and all-around interesting people. Sit back, relax, unless you're driving, and enjoy the show. Here's Jackson.
Hello. I am Jackson Huff. This is Not in a Huff. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it as always. This week is a little bit of a shorter one, but it's just a really fascinating story. I interviewed Jenna Zhang. Now, she immigrated here as a child from China, and she's just done some really cool things. We're going to get into her early life and wheeling and dealing. Essentially, she's an entrepreneur. She got it honestly. That's kind of what her family has been for many generations. But the cool thing about what she's doing is she just launched a watch company. They've actually got a watch right now on Kickstarter. It's live right now. If you're listening to this in between July and August of 2021, if not, I'm sure go check out their website. With any luck, it was a smashing success, and you can buy it there. But right now, you can buy it on Kickstarter. But the really interesting thing about these watches are they actually have a piece of a Lamborghini embedded in the watch. We're going to talk about exactly what that means, how she got the idea. There's some Hurricane Harvey tied into this, but I just like to hear from people who are doing really, really amazing, interesting things. Thinking outside the box. That's what Jenna Zhang certainly did. So, without further ado, here is my interview with watch designer, fashion design graduate, Jenna Zhang. I am here today with Jenna Zhang. Jenna, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, I always like to kind of just start at the beginning. Tell us just a little bit about yourself, whether it's growing up or just about yourself in general. I do believe that you do have a little bit of a story as far as growing up. I think I listened to you on another podcast, and if I'm not mistaken, you might have immigrated to the United States. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. So I immigrated to the United States when I was about 6.5, 7. And before I came here, I lived in Japan and China, and I was originally born in China.
So what brought your family to the United States?
My father was, he really wanted to seek a better life. My family has been through a lot back where I'm from, and living in a different country, especially a third world country at the time, we didn't have the resources to progress further in life and in my parents' careers. But although we weren't given much, my parents were still very accomplished with the given circumstances, but they sought to give me a better life. And so they dropped everything and they came here and they practically started over with nothing. And so I would say I'm very grateful to have that opportunity to grow up and watch two very strong people build a life out of nothing. And very grateful that they decided to migrate here into the US. I've been treated so well in this country. Very grateful. I don't know how many times I could repeat that. I love it here. And I don't think there's any other country like this country.
Very good. Yeah. So, I think it's kind of a no-brainer, what I'm about ready to ask you, but we're going to obviously talk about your entrepreneurial spirit and some of the things you're doing. Do you think that your parents and how they picked themselves up from nothing, like you just said, do you think that's kind of contributed to you being the entrepreneur that you are now?
Absolutely. I also come from, a family. Well, it's maybe twice or 3 times removed now, but my great-grandparents were business people. At least my great-grandfather was, and he was very, very successful entrepreneur during his time. He owned some factories, and they did very, very well. And although we had that taken away from us, I think it's part of my blood. So it's been passed down. And after, a couple of generations of building back up from nothing, we're finally ready to pursue that. I'd like to call it something that I feel I'm destined to do, which is create businesses and generate wealth for not only my family, but the community around me.
Absolutely. So when you did move to the United States, where did you guys settle? And are you still there?
Yeah, so when we first came here, we came to Houston, Texas, actually just 20 minutes southeast of Houston in a little town called Sugar Land.
Okay.
And I moved out of Texas for college for 5 years, but ultimately decided to come back because this is where my family is. And also the people here are just bar none. Very, very amazing. They care about their community. There's this Southern hospitality, and people here just seem a lot more close-knit than in any other big cities that I've lived in. And I've lived in, New York, London, Milan, Tokyo. You can name a big city. I've probably been there. And I honestly think Houston's one of the best cities that I've been in.
Yeah. And in the podcast I was listening to you in, I think that you both were from Texas. So you guys definitely had some Texas love. I'm not from Texas. I've been to Texas once, so I can't really share your Texas love there. I enjoyed my one visit though. But yeah, you kind of mentioned that you did leave while you were in school, and that's something that I saw in your background, that I think you studied design, and you studied in a lot of different places. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so right as I graduated college, I didn't know what to do really. So I kind of did a fine arts, explored fine arts for a bit in Maryland at MICA. Decided I didn't really like it. I want to do something that's more applicable and with real life experience, I guess, not so artsy fartsy. And so I moved to design school and relocated to New York City and studied at Fashion Institute of Technology. And during the time I was there, I did 2 study abroad programs. So one would be in Central St. Martin's in London, and the other one is Politecnico di Milano in Milan, Italy.
Gotcha. And so what exactly were you studying with design? I know that can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did my undergrad in women's wear design. It's fashion, high fashion stuff. And also did a specialization in knitwear design, which has nothing to do with what I'm doing now, but that's pretty normal for anyone graduating college. But the fundamentals are still there because you have to apply a certain style of thinking, and you wouldn't get that if you didn't go to a design school. So that can translate into interior design, which is something I also dabble a little bit in. Product design. I've actually did product design right out of school for a job in Italy. And now I'm doing watch design, graphic design, web design, all sorts of things. And it's pretty much all interconnected.
Yeah. And that's kind of the interesting thing about you going and getting a degree. You really can, but people stress so much about what degree they're going to get, when really you can use the tools and the skills that you learn with education for a lot of different things. I guess kind of tell us just a little bit about before you decided to go into watch design, were there any other, I guess, entrepreneurial things that you were doing, or is this kind of your first foray into creating your own business, so to speak?
Oh man. Okay. Well, if we're talking about all the businesses that I've worked on, the first, I guess, entrepreneurial thing that I did was when I was in was it elementary school or middle school? I was like 12 or 13 at the time. I was playing video games and not doing homework. I was at home playing video games, and I taught myself how to code HTML. I just thought it was fun. I was running a store on one of the games that I was playing, and HTML helped me bring in more customers. And so I got a lot of other kids playing the game, asking me, "Hey, can you build a storefront for me?" So I taught myself HTML, and I started, selling code, little lines of code injection. That was, when I was a kid, that was the first one. When I was in, I think, middle school going into high school, an outlet store just opened maybe 20, 30 minutes away from my house. And so on the weekends, I would go with my family, and we'd pick up, Coach bags and wallets at a heavily discounted price, and I would flip them on eBay. And that's like back when eBay was a huge thing. So I made, I would say, 200% returns on those things. It was back in the early days when, you can make a killing off of eBay. So that was fun. But those are my early business experiences.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I like to hear that. Normally people that do grow up and start their own businesses and have, I guess, that passion, it does start early. So I always like to hear, from people who are, in successful businesses now that created it. It's kind of it's not necessarily a learned thing. A lot of times it's kind of an innate thing. So it doesn't surprise me that you've been kind of hustling since you were a kid. So that's really cool. So let's talk a little bit about, the watch business, and I believe it's called Olympus Watch. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Olympus Watch Co. actually is a reiteration of another watch business that I started before. I've always loved the intricate workings of watches and of cars. I think there's a lot of overlap in those two diagrams, and I'm sure a lot of car enthusiasts and watch enthusiasts would agree. And so it's always been something that was on the back of my head. Like, how can I work both in the car industry and in the watch industry? Because those two things intrigue me very much. But the idea really started to take form when Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, and I was there by myself at home when it happened. And I just was flipping through the channels on the news and saw how, Harvey did a lot of damage to the automotive industry here. It did a lot of damage to small businesses, to private homes. My neighbors were flooded. My friends and family got, a lot of stuff happened to them. But all of that seemed to be on the forefront of the news media stations for a very limited amount of time. And, maybe just a week, I don't remember how many days after Harvey happened, all of a sudden the news started to take a change in tone. And that's when they started talking about Mattress Mac opening up all of his showrooms for, the residents of Houston, foregoing hundreds of thousands of dollars in his own inventory so he can provide, the citizens here with a place to stay and with warm meals. And it was very, very, it was a pivotal moment for the city of Houston. That's, he inspired J.J. Watt to do a fundraiser, and then they inspired, all these unnamed Good Samaritans to go out and risk their lives, their own boats, and start to, rescue stranded dogs and cats and people and families. And so Houston turned something that could have been a huge disaster that people are still talking about to this day into something that's very empowering. And that really inspired me to, follow in that path and ask myself, what can I do that sort of symbolizes that spirit of rebuilding out of destruction, right? And that's when, it clicked for me. Like, what if I take the cars that could not be driven anymore, they're damaged, and turn them into something beautiful like watches? Because, essentially these supercars, even though these parts, you can't use them anymore, they're sitting in the back of a junkyard for years and years, people out there still appreciate them. There are people out there who would still want a piece of that. There's so much passion and love that goes into making these parts. There's behind every car, there's a designer working 60, 70 hours a week, perfecting it to the last stroke. There's an engineer doing everything he can to make sure that it's the most aerodynamic car in existence at the time. And all of that would be lost if you just toss it away into the back of a junkyard. So what we do is we take those parts, we polish them, we treat them, and we hand place them into these Swiss made watches. By the way, the Swiss watches are handmade in Switzerland. Everything is assembled by hand because we appreciate that level of artisanship. And so every piece of a Lamborghini is then vacuum sealed in the case back. I think it's very special because every watch has a unique grain to it. They're all one of a kind, essentially, and they have great stories that you can tell to anyone that you give these watches to, especially people who love Lamborghinis and they want to own a piece of that. And
so what, if I could, what piece of the car is it a piece of like the body or a piece of the engine or what exactly is attached to this watch?
Yeah, it's a great question. So right now we have a piece of the body. The body is the easiest to work with, but we do have pieces of the engine in the pipeline that we have to do some more research and development to figure out how to put them in the watch and have them run properly for 20, 30 years. So that's in the pipeline. But for now, we have a piece of the body, and it's a Lamborghini Gallardo from 2012.
Gotcha. So, I mean, obviously, a Lamborghini is a lot bigger than a watch. So, is it just one Lamborghini that you're making this all out of, or is it several, or how is that working?
It is the part of one of the Lamborghinis that is bent out of shape. So the rest of the car is gone to a great owner, but we take the parts that can't be used anymore and turn them into watches.
So you're saying that a piece of the body is in the back of the watch, is that right?
Yes, it's in the case back.
And then you mentioned about it them being Swiss made. So the idea behind that is just that. I mean, there's a lot of watch companies. I think some of the biggest ones are from Switzerland. So you've mentioned that it's just because of the craftsmanship behind Swiss made watches.
Well, it's not just the craftsmanship behind the Swiss made watches. It took me a long time to find the ideal person to collaborate with to work on these watches, because not only has he been in the industry for over 30 years, he's worked with some of the biggest luxury Swiss made watch brands in existence today, some of the most prestigious. And so he's always been a watch enthusiast himself, but as a matter of fact, he's also worked in the automotive industry. So he loves cars and he drives a Carrera himself. And so he seemed to be a perfect fit for me. And that's how I know that, it's not just labor, it's the artisanship and it's the love of what we do that translates into the product that we make. And so you can say, yeah, Swatch is Swiss made, but they're a huge conglomerate. They're a big, they sort of make everything with machines. There's some of the stuff is lost, right? Some of that passion and that love for watches is lost when you manufacture watches. And I always think because it's sort of like a heritage piece, I would say timepieces, of course, their utility is being overtaken by smartphones and smartwatches, but it's the artisanship and the craftsmanship that the people appreciate. And that's why watches are still very popular to this day. And so that story is very well translated when you have everything that's made by hand, that's made slowly, and it lasts long, it looks great. And that's why we are very proudly Swiss made.
Gotcha. So are the watches, are they battery operated? Are they wind up, or what exactly are they?
They're not automatic. They're quartz watches, which means they're battery operated, which is also why we can sell them at a price of $499 on our Kickstarter launch. If they are automatic, which is going to be the next collection, they're going to be in the thousands, easily in the thousands, especially for something that's handmade in Switzerland.
What does automatic mean? Is that wind up?
No, not wind up. So automatic is you have a rotor in the back, and as you move around during the day, it winds up the watch for you. Talking about mechanical watches, where at the end of the day you have to wind it up, and it'll run for about 24 to 48 hours for you.
Is that a thing that many people do anymore? I have a watch that's wind up. I think it's kind of cool. I don't wear watches very often, but I do think that one's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, it's great. All the watch nerds and aficionados out there, they love their mechanical and automatic watches. They don't even care about quartz watches. But personally, I think there is a very good appeal to quartz watches. It's a great way to it's a great gateway for new watch enthusiasts to get into the club and not have to deal with a lot of the things that people who own mechanical watches have to do, which is, for example, get it periodically serviced. And it takes a lot of work to take care of a mechanical watch. And so these watches will be great for them, kind of like a starter pack.
Yeah. So tell us, this is another one that I think that if a watch enthusiast or anyone who I guess likes the finer things in life are listening, they're going to think this is a goofy question. But for those who aren't that way, what's the difference, and why should someone be looking at a watch that's even $499 compared to a Walmart watch for $19.99?
Well, there is a huge difference between a $20 watch and a $400 watch. For one, you don't know where the watches from Walmart came from, but most likely they came from China. And Chinese watches, although they have huge factories with great turnaround time and they look good, at the end of the day, they're cheap watches and they'll break down very quickly. If you want something that will last you a long time, and if you want something that's great quality, that I've seen watches from Walmart where the hour markers just decide to dislodge themselves and fall out of the dial. That kind of stuff will not fly when a watch is hand assembled. It only happens when it's machine assembled. And so over the long run, if you want to own one nice watch that not only looks good, but lasts you 10 times as long as a Walmart watch, then it's good to make that investment. I mean, you're paying the same price over a period of time.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of people that are definitely with, the mechanical watches. And I think some of the other ones that you're talking about, the nice watches, you see people with their grandparents' watch because they do really last a good long time for sure. So how big is your, I know you said that you're launching on Kickstarter soon, but how big is your operation so far? You've mentioned yourself and this maker in Switzerland, but is there much other behind it yet, or is that still in the works?
Oh yeah. So our production team in Switzerland is at any given point in time between 60 to 90 people. It's a boutique atelier, but that's the team that's going to be working on the watches. So the turnaround time is still well controlled. They're very professional and they're a family-owned business. And we have a marketing team here. We have a design, couple of design people here. So, I mean, all in all, the operations, I would say, is somewhere between, I don't know the exact number, but between 60 to 90 people.
Yeah. So is this your I guess your main full-time role now?
Yes.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm also doing grad school, so I'm splitting my time between these two things.
I gotcha. No, that's really cool. So tell us, you said it's launching on Kickstarter soon. So I don't know whether there's a place people can really find it now, but maybe more information about it for when it does launch.
Sure. If you want to know anything about the watch, if you have any questions, go ahead and visit our website, www.olympuswatches.co. That's watches, plural. But you can go ahead and follow Olympus Watches on Instagram at Olympus Watch Co.
At Olympus Watch Co. No, that's awesome. Kickstarter, again, it launches July the what?
The 15th.
July the 15th. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I have checked out the website. Definitely sleek, slick looking watches. You mentioned exactly why they stand out and the uniqueness of having a Lamborghini part within the watch. That's really cool. Just the uniqueness of I guess the handmade watch. So it was a pleasure speaking with you, and I think that a lot of people will be interested in hearing more.
Thank you so much for having me, Jackson.
Absolutely. And that was my interview with Jenna Zhang. What an amazing person. Just thinking outside the box. I always try to bring you somebody who's got a really cool story to tell, somebody that's doing something that we just don't know a lot about. You heard in the interview, I certainly don't know a lot about watchmaking and designing. Definitely about adding a luxury supercar in a watch. I don't think a lot of people know too much about that. But I wanted to just bring somebody on who's just rocking it, really. I had a chance in the editing here to go check out that Kickstarter that is live. It is already successfully funded. Super happy about that. During the Kickstarter, in the the show description, I'm going to put the link to the Kickstarter. Afterwards, you'll just have to go to their website. I'm sure that she's talked about a few other lines that may be coming, so definitely check those out. Check out the Kickstarter, should it still be live. But I really enjoyed my conversation with Jenna. Just I like to hear somebody making something out of a harder situation. Immigration. She talked about some of her family issues. We didn't really go too much into it, but seems like there was a struggle there at some point, and being able to just make something so great out of it. I always like to hear that. I like to hear the inventor and the imagination that she has, and just creating something that's really awesome. So do check out the Kickstarter. Check out her page. Remember, it's Olympic Watches, plural.co. And, of course, as always, check us out. If you haven't already subscribed, followed, all that great stuff on Instagram, Not Enough Podcast, Facebook, Not Enough with Jackson Huff, jacksonhuff.com. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate Jenna's time. And take it away, Chris.
This has been Not in a Huff with Jackson Huff. Thank you for listening. Be sure to join us next time, where we will interview another amazing guest who is sure to make you laugh or make you think. Or, hey, maybe even both. But until then, keep being awesome.